Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Timber Exchange webinar and podcast series, where we interview market leaders from around the world so you can hear directly from them what is happening in their market. Today we have a very special guest, a very good friend and a leader in the Chinese timber market, none other than Max Miao from Beijing National Material Building Group. And we're going to learn and hear directly today from him and learn what is happening in the Chinese timber market. As usual, we want to know where in the world you are watching from. So down below in the chat, please write. It's always very interesting. Hello from Brazil, from Australia, from China. Some people are a bit shy, but I see, Max, that there is a global audience here actually. We have Finland as well, Sweden. Warm welcome to everybody. Really good to see you all. We will start in a minute, but first there is a small announcement. This is something that we care deeply about. So we want you to hear directly from market leaders around the world all year round. Basically a forestry conference on steroids that never stops. We're doing now 3 webinars per month. And this season, you will be hearing from market leaders from all around the world, South America, Scandinavia, North America, and of course, Asia. But it's not only the qualitative side, it's also the quantitative side. We track now 400 market signals across 40 key timber markets. And there is bigger transparency than ever. And really, this transparency is really important because it allows us as a market to take good and informed decisions. For example, what is the global inventory level or how much is being consumed all around the world? And over the summer, my team and I have been working very hard. We now track prices for 170 key timber products around the world in 28 markets. We started tracking log prices in all markets. We started tracking local cell prices in the MENA region. We started tracking Russian production, MENA housing activity, as well as shipment manifest insights for example, for the US and India. And next week, you can already download our upcoming iPhone app. So you have all the data that you need on the go. And one important thing is every time you contribute prices to our price survey, we from ourselves donate food to those more vulnerable and in need. And every time you donate contribute prices, we will donate 85 warm meals to a family in need. And our goal is to distribute 1 million meals this year in the coming 12 months. And here you can see an example of some of our previous work. So if you contribute even one price monthly, just one price over a whole year, you will personally be responsible for distributing 1,020 meals. Now, without further ado, let's welcome to the stage and a warm welcome to Mr. Max Miao. Hello, Max, how are you?
Hi, Amir. How are you? I'm fine.
Very good to have you and see you. Thank you so much for coming. What time is it there where are you based now? And what time is it there?
It's 4 o'clock afternoon. It's nearby is getting off time.
Oh, very nice. Thank you so much for coming. We're so excited to speak with you and to learn more about the Chinese timber market. So, to start with, could you share a little bit about your background in the timber industry and what you currently do in BNBMG?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, Amir. It's a great pleasure to join this webinar, where I'll share insights into China's timber industry, and together we'll discuss some topics of interest to everyone. My name is Max Miao. I'm from a great Xin'an range, a forest city in northeastern China. Back in the 1980s, 1990s, this region supplied a huge amount of timber for China's economic development. And my parents are also worked in this forest industry there for many years. After my graduation from college, I went to Russia and worked in a timber processing industry for 2 years. Later that, I returned to China and joined BNBM Group Forest, where I currently take charge in the logs and sawn timber business.
Very, very interesting. So, can you please tell us a little bit about more about your company, BNBMG? What does the company do, and what makes the company unique?
Okay. So, BNBM Group Forest is a member of China National Building Materials Group, which we often call CNBM, a state-owned enterprise. CNBM is the world's largest comprehensive building material group, a world-leading developer and a comprehensive service provider of new materials. CNBM is the world's largest producer of cement, gypsum boards, and wind turbine blades, and also the largest producer of glass fiber and carbon fiber in China. CNBM has been listed in the Fortune Global 500 for 14 consecutive years and ranked 307th in the last year. Yeah, and for my company, BNBM Group Forest, we adhere to philosophy of efficient use of resources to service construction, relying on the business mode of entire industry chain, focusing on integrated supply chain business, wood and wood-based panels. BNBM Forests consistently purchased high-quality logs, lumber, wood-based panels, wood pulp, flooring, and other wood products from worldwide. The imported wood business of BNBM Group Forest is among the best in China. The import volume of high-end wood-based panel OSB has been the largest in China for many years.
Wow, super, super interesting. We're going to have a really good discussion today and discuss what is actually happening on the ground in the Chinese timber market. But we have a global audience today. Some might work with China, some don't work with China. So let's set the stage for them. How large is China's timber market? How does it function? And what sectors consume the most timber?
After the end of the COVID, China's wood consumption has been recovering. The total timber consumption in 2024 reached 587 million cubic meters. That is equivalent to log volume, an increase about 4.4% compared with the year 2023. It is estimated that the total timber consumption will stabilize at about 600 million cubic meters in 2025, with a year-on-year increase about 2 or 2.2%. However, the wood consumption structure across various industries has shown differentiations. The construction sector has begun to decline, which is directly related by the slowdown of China's real estate development after reaching the peak in 2021. Nevertheless, wooden structure houses and green energy saving renovations projects are increased. And the proportion of wood used in the pellets packaging fields is still on the rise. It is important to note that our current personal wood consumption is less than 1/6 of Japan's and less than 1/17 of the United States. That indicating that there is still huge room for the growth.
Very, very interesting. You mentioned that consumption is in the hundreds of millions of cubic meters. Is that for paper and pulp as well?
Yes.
Okay, very, very interesting. Do you know how much China imports or consumes only in softwood sawn timber?
A softwood?
Yes.
For the, I can show you the picture of the volume that last year we have imported.
Okay.
Yeah, I can share it to you. Oh, sorry. Oh, I think I didn't picture that. I didn't send to you before. Okay. Let's see. You know, the last year, China log and lumber imports status is about 12% declined. That means the demand of the imported wood logs is less than last year. But for the natural wood from China, we have a lot of pine, we have a lot of spruce that is instead of the imported logs and lumbers that is used for the people's living, for constructions, for the papers. That means the total consumption is growing up, but important status is going down. That is why.
Okay, very, very interesting. And so how are the main consuming sectors of softwood sawn timber, for example, construction, furniture, and packaging, how are they performing and what trends do you see?
China's timber consumption is focused on traditional constructions and furniture manufacturing, still these two kind of areas. For constructions, though the declining is in recent years, it is still total for 38% of the still the largest share of the consumption. The demand for traditional for framework wooden beams fell for 2.1%, while the prefabricated timber buildings like glulam, like CLT, and public space timber structures rose for 5%. For furniture aspects, almost 27% of the consumption, I think. And in 2024, it used for 48 million cubic meters. For paper packaging, for packaging set and for like the energy set, the volume is just small. The consumption of volume is small, but still growth, and the growth potential exists if the policy is and the wooden pellets applications expand. For the paper making and pulp, it takes 80% share, driven by the e-commerce. Packaging, household paper demand, and the waste paper import ban. Virgin wood pulp use increased, boosting confused wood consumption by 6 percentage. Yeah.
Super interesting. So before we jump into more about the market and of course discuss Russia and logistics, what bottlenecks in the Chinese timber market do you see now?
Biggest bottlenecks, I think, compare with European, North American countries, other countries, because we are building our homes, building our houses with cement a lot, but not wooden houses. Even though we know the wooden houses is more comfortable, but we can't make it realization because is still some policy that we can't build a wooden house in our land because we don't have the free land that we can build wooden houses. So I think the policy may be the bottlenecks for the booming of the use of wood in the next 10 or 20 years in China.
Very interesting. And China is a unique market in the sense because you import both logs and lumber. So do these two markets, do they work together or do they affect each other if there's a lot, if timber price is expensive, people go and buy logs, or if log inventory is high, how do they affect each other?
Yes, of course. Logs are the main raw materials of lumber, of course, and the change of log price will directly affect the production cost of lumbers. So in China, the log and lumber markets influence each other in various aspects, including demand-supply relationship and the price transmissions. If we talk about the in construction area, like we usually buy the SPF 2x4, and we buy the 35 by 85 from Ukraine, from Belarus. When the logs are cheaper, these kind of lumbers are not have no advantage. People will choose the logs to produce the 2x4 or the 35 by 84. So the price of the lumber should be going down, then can be competitive with the logs. That is construction area. For the furniture area, in the last 2 years, for the radiated pine from Chile, always have a lot of people, furniture mills, they would like to use these materials. We import lumbers directly from the Chile, but in the recent years, the radiated pine, we imported radiated pine a lot with a high quality radiated pine logs. The construction area, they can't consume so much radiated pine. So the sawmills, they decided to make a use of the good radiated pine to manufacture the lumbers for the furniture mills. So right now, very few Chile radiated pine lumbers imported to China because the Chinese producers already doing the same quality lumbers in China domestically. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
also, and I think also the another way that more and more log enterprises extension to the lumber field, and some lumber enterprises are interested in log business too. We have a lot of customers that they don't do the lumber business before. But recent years the log business is not so good, but they put more energy, put more money in a lumber business to just balance the risks.
Very, very interesting. And it's mostly, we have a lot of people from Europe listening today. And of
Oh,
course, the key question for them, the key interest for them
mhm.
is China still buying from Russia? Timber, of course. And if so, how does that affect the price and competitiveness of European timber imports? Because Russia is not, for example, FSC certified, of course, whilst European timber is.
Yeah. Yes, why not? We still buying Russian products right now, Russian lumbers. Because for the China market, for China consumers, the Russian products is high quality, softwood, and cheaper prices. And we don't think we should abandon them, because compared with the European softwood, pine and spruce, even though the transport logistics from Russia to China is higher than Europe to China, but the price is lower. The Russian products price is lower. So facing the severe competitions in China market, we choose to purchase the Russian softwood. And you can see from the data from the customs, more and more Russian softwood lumbers coming to the China from the conflicts between the Ukraine and Russia.
What if I ask the question in a different way? Is there still a demand specifically for European lumber? Is there something that you must buy from Europe?
Yet I think, because you just mentioned that for the FSC, PFC, for the regulations, for the policies, for the tariff, for the policy things, we still have the need for the European products, but not in a good volume, because a lot of cost should be saved, and if we use all of them with the European products, that will be not profitable.
So the main reason that you buy European products is for the FSC certification, you mean?
That is one aspect, I think. Another aspect is that the European companies, European big sawmills, the also small sawmills and big sawmills, they don't put a lot of attention on China market. They are putting much more attention on the North American market or domestic European market, EU market. So we can't negotiate with a good volume and good sizes and good price. So that is mutual selection for us.
Okay, I understand. A little bit more about Russia. We have heard that there are some payment issues between China and Russia. So how is this? What is the truth about this? What is actually the problem? How is the trade with Russia working? It's very interesting. For of course, between you guys, you have no sanctions, there's no problems, but it's interesting for an outsider to understand what is happening.
Yeah, you heard the right news that the big banks in China, almost every bank you have heard, they just refused to do business to help the importers to pay the money to the Russian. But even though we still have an alternative ways to pay to the Russian guys, because not all the banks are related by European, by the United States. We still have some small banks that they only do the business with Russian, Middle East, or some other countries that not related about. They don't have much relationship between the European and North Americans, so they can help us to pay to the Russian companies, and also the Russian companies they will find a way to open an account or open new companies agent in other countries that is easier for them to accept the money. So they try to do something, and we try to do something. We just still we can do this business, but it's very conflict, and the time and the security of the money is not is it's not can be assured. So it makes us cost us a lot of financial costs. It's not that easy job.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So then, of course, from that perspective, it's also better to work with Europe because then there the money is secure, of course.
Yeah, of course. We just
one benefit with working with Europe.
we work with European sawmills too, but just the volume is declining because they can't supply as much as we want at the reasonable price. So that's why we want, but they can't.
I understand. And one of the key things, of course, is about one of the most important aspects in our business in softwood timber is timber is a very heavy material, takes a lot of space, of course. So one of the key things is of course logistics. So how is, for example, the railway deliveries to from Russia to China? How is, for example, container freight from Russia and Europe to China? Or maybe even, are there any trains going now through Europe? I remember before COVID, there was big announcements that some sawmills were taking the one belt, one road and to deliver timber. Is that still something that is happening?
Yeah. It is known to all the development of land transportation belt and roads, such as the China-Europe Railway Express, has provided new options for importing timber from countries like Russia, like Belarus. However, the cost proportion of this logistics method remains high. The freight for 40-foot container from the Siberian to the northwestern region of Russia to China main stations is still around 2,500 around to 2,800 US dollars, which imposes a heavy burden on already fragile cost structure of sawmill. If this issue is not resolved, neither Chinese timber buyers nor Russian saw timber producers will achieve nothing, no profits. As the logistics companies will take up most of the profit share. But for European is another story. After the resolution of the Red Sea crisis, the transportation cost from European to major China ports has decreased. The problem of high transportation cost is solved. Nevertheless, the high sales price of European sawn timber during the same period and the inflexible adjustment of specifications to meet the Chinese market have led to a gross decline in the number of accepting customers. This situation has resulted in even large sawmills that have deeply rooted in the Chinese market for many years, paying less and less attention to the Chinese market. That's what I saw.
Very interesting. How about Russian deliveries, maybe from Central or Eastern Russia into China? Does that go by train or truck, and is that going normally?
For the central part of the, like Siberian, like Krasnoyarsk, these two big share of regions harvest, they transport to China mostly by train. Sometimes they transport by train to the eastern port and then by ship to main port China. But in this way, it costs it's no less than the train way, because the back road is still the fast and the safe way to do this kind of business. And for the central part of the Russian, still the majority of the volume that supply China much more volume. And for the eastern side of Russia, they don't have much more good sawn timbers that can supply China market. The volume of the eastern side is less and less. For I think the northwest of Russia part, they supply not only for China market, they supply to the Middle East for like Egypt, Iran. This can for the Kazakhstan, all these countries. So the volume for China is maybe 60% or 70% of that.
Okay, very, very interesting. Of course, the biggest MENA market for Russia is by far Egypt. And those volumes usually go on the Trans-Siberian Railway down to Novorossiysk port on the Black Sea. And then from there, break bulk. It takes about a week. So sometimes, or in the beginning of the war, that train capacity was fully booked. It was very hard to get volume down to the port because that area is of course close to Ukraine. So the military was using that the capacity on the trains. So that's why it's very interesting to understand if you see any issues in the Far East. Of course, it's far away from all the war. If you see any issues there on exports to China.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get your question.
The exports from Russia to China by train going in the east direction, are they running normally, or are there any capacity issues or delays?
I think it's normal running right now. Maybe for 1 or 2 months, you have quite a period, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, that for the policies, for the subsidies, they have some conflict, and the logistic companies that they can't make a fluent contact with each other, so a little bit delay. But normally, it will be easy for the transportation by train, for the eastern way.
Okay. And the main port, the most popular port in China is of course Taisang. So how is the current inventory level in Taisang and other key hubs like Qingdao, Dalian, etc. for softwood sawn lumber? How are there any trends that you are seeing?
So as you know, for the eastern side in China, Taichung area is biggest timber market there, sawn timber market there. It just occupied the almost 60% of the import sawn timber volume. According to the status last month, for September 30th, the storage there, the volume is around 915 million cubic meters, 950,000 cubic meters. And the second place is around Qingdao, is around just 240,000 cubic meters, just 50% of the volume, import volume. And for the northwest, for the southwest area, Chengdu is a very big place that make the distribution of the sawn timbers. The volume is around 10,000 cubic meters. And another important site is southeastern side, that is Guangzhou, Ganzhou, compares the two cities around about 240,000 cubic meters. So above all, the whole volume of the sawn timbers storage is around 1.65 million cubic meters. But the daily consumption right now is around 20,000 or 22,000 cubic meters per day. That means it costs 2 months and a half that we consume all the storage. Because after the September, we have almost 4 or 5 months that is a good consuming season for the furnitures. So the status of the storage is normal, just in the normal range. But we can see that is a low range. Compare with last year or the year before, the volume is not high, but the demand right now is not so good. So still, it is a little bit high storage volume.
Very, very interesting. So about the current market, what dimensions of spruce and pine and qualities are most in demand in China today? Or least in demand?
For China market, for spruce right now in China, we for furniture side, we usually interested in 35 by 100, 42 by 100, 47 by 100. This kind of materials that is used for the panels, for the frames of the bed. Yes. And for the red pine, we are more interested in the thickness of 27 and the thickness of 31 or 32. That is for people to make the demarcation. Yeah.
Are these dimensions usually in soft falling or medium qualities?
Just we accept also all grades of the from the sawmill, because we are in big volumes. We can separate which one to which high quality to some kind of port, some kind of cities, and the low grade to other cities. Not only high quality, not only for the high grades.
Okay. And the final question before we enter the Q&A session, where the audience will be able to ask you questions directly. So to the audience, if you already have a question in mind, down below, there is a button called Q&A where you can submit your questions and I will read them to Mr. Miao. But before we enter that, I have one final question. Mr. Miao, what is your outlook for China's timber market, sawn timber market, over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, it's quite big, quite big questions for me. How to say that? You know, during the past 4 years, we just get the recovery of the COVID, but after that, we suffered from the decline of the real estate development, and it's very sharp decline. So every wood business, everyone around me in the wood business area, they are suffered from these 3-4 years. Especially for these 2 years, the tariff problem also give us a lot of problems that makes us we can't enjoy the reasonable profit. We're losing money on the export side. But for the perspective side, we still see that the consumption of the total consumption of the wood still growing up, and the real estate is a little bit stable, not growth, but stable right now. So we are adapting these kind of situations. So we are improving ourselves to adapting these circumstances and to challenge the future. For my perspective, the logs consuming will going down. Maybe from now, maybe 38% of the total wood consumption. Maybe the volume as a percentage will be go down to 35 or maybe 30. So for the long perspective, but for the wood-based panels, engineer wood, these high-valued wood products, it will be increased. Right now is about 40%. I think it will soonly be 45 or 50%. So we just put our much more attention on these kind of areas, not only on the wood perspective. So that is we should change our mind to running this wood business, not only one product, but also other products, and make a little bit high tech in our areas. Make a little bit high tech use of our areas. So that is my opinion. Stable, but we still have our chance to seize the opportunities.
Very, very good. Those were my questions. We will now be entering the Q&A session. So to the audience members, down below in the bottom of the menu, there is a button called Q&A where you can submit your questions to Mr. Miao and I will read them out loud. Of course, we cannot accept questions about politics or different things like this. So we will be moderating within the framework of normal questions. So we'll wait for a few questions. Until then, I will be making a short announcement. So one time per month, we tell the story of the global timber market. how it's performing and to help you identify early market trends. And we have some trends that we wanted to show you actually today, which are quite important. So one interesting trend is that the log price, for example, in Finland for pine has peaked. It's starting to go down a little bit, and it's expected to continue going down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in Chile, which is usually the cheapest material in the market, the price of bigger sized radiata logs, 20 to 24 centimeter diameter, have really increased over the past period. This will definitely have an effect on the timber market. One very cool and interesting fact is Estonia. It's a small timber market, but it's producing 18% more this year compared to last year. In North America, inventory volumes are on the way down, which is good. It creates a hungry market. And here we can see the global barometer. How do companies believe that the price will continue? We ask 100 plus market leaders every 2 months. These 100 market leaders, they jointly represent 13 million cubic meters in timber production and timber purchase. This is around 10% of global timber production. And as we can see, in September, 25% voted that they believe in falling prices, 25% believe in increasing prices, and around 50% believe in stability. It's a very interesting time indeed. This type of, you can see the historic data as well before. This type of balance has never happened before in the history of the barometer. So it'll be very interesting to see how it develops. And one very interesting fact is what's happening in the USA, the world's biggest timber market. And there we see, if you look at the blue line especially, what percentage of buyers and sellers on the Chicago Stock Exchange for lumber futures believe in increasing prices? Now, the blue line shows that almost 50% of buyers and sellers of lumber futures believe in increasing prices. In August, it was only 20%. So it's quite positive indeed. As we can see, if we go back in time, the record for the past 1 year was at 60% positive. So it's, of course, it's never going to be 100% positive. So it's a good signal. And one final piece of advice is about the UK, or it's a good news actually about the timber market in Europe. There's a lot of good news coming out of Europe actually, so you should attend the webinars. But in the UK, they are delivering 17% more bricks to construction sites. This is a market signal. This is very good news, actually. And now we have, for those that work with India and with the US or are affected directly or indirectly, we have a new offering where you can see what are the top exporting companies or top importing companies in these countries and what are even closed prices. It's very interesting and gives you detailed competitive intelligence. And now, without further ado, we will enter the Q&A session. So what is allowed to be asked by the audience are, for example, general market trends, historic production data, historic pricing data, historic inventory and stock levels, and economic and political influences, but we will not allow politics, of course, we said. And what is not allowed is, for example, specific prices or pricing strategies, future or planned production levels or demand levels, individual company strategies, or real-time or forward-looking data. Now, without further ado, let's enter into the Q&A. We have a few questions that have come in. The first question is, Mr. Miao mentioned that he sees opportunities in engineered wood. Could you please elaborate on this point? He also stated that it will reach 40%. Could you please clarify what this percentage refers to? Additionally, which wood species are being used for engineered wood?
Oh, okay. I think by the question, he mentioned that 40% reached the 40%. That is not for only for the engineered wood. That is for all the wood-based panels, like the plywood, like the fiberboard, like the PB particle board, OSB, like all kinds of this kind of wood things combined. That is for the high valued end use of wood products. That compares for the logs and sawn timbers that for the 40%, maybe for 45, 50 in the future. And for the engineering wood in China is not that popular right now because of the policies that you can only use them in the public houses, in a park or some public areas, not for the personal houses, because the policy is not like the New Zealand and the United States. That's why. And for the engineer wood, which wood species being used? That is spruce and pine, I think, normally, because we just obey the rules from the European, from the North America. That's just we just that is just where we learn that how to use them. So we form the regulation from the European and United States. That's all.
Very, very interesting. The next question is, South American supplying countries are seeking new global markets to place big volumes of its products, which traditionally used to go to the USA. Do you see any increase of supply or offers from Brazil, Chile, or Argentina to the Chinese markets?
Yes, we do have business connections with South America, big sawmills, but they just supply us in a stable volume, not a high volume, because the price is not so cheap. For domestic, we have a very low cost of spruce or the pine. I don't know how to say Mao or Lengshan, Shuishan, like this kind of pines. So for the pines in the Brazil or Chile or Argentina is not that cheap for us, and I think they are more just more and more their products are selling to the North America, I think. So they don't have much attention on us, and especially for the transportation is too long. It costs almost a month or 14 days from there to our main port. So not efficiency, I think.
Very, very interesting. The next question is, what are your main markets for export of timber-related products?
Our export still focused on the building materials, like the construction area, like from China to the Middle East. I think all the like the European, like German, also focused on the Middle East construction business. So we are the same. Of course, for the North America, for South America, we also pay a lot of attention on there.
I think the question is also about, for example, if you produce engineered wood or furniture or beds in China, where the most popular wood products that you make inside of China, where are they exported to?
Let me tell you some maybe secret or something. Like the furnitures, like the floors, these two are the most popular wood products that we export to the worldwide. Usually, it goes to the United States, to the European countries, to Australia, to the developed countries, of course. But right now, we can't just export directly from China mainland to there. So it makes us doing a transshipment from raw material or half-made materials and to the Vietnam or Thailand or Indonesia. Which country you just you know from the customs they export a lot to United States, European. Finally, you go down to the countries, you find the furniture, you find the meals, you finally found that this meal is founded by a Chinese guy. Still the two things.
Yes, very, very interesting indeed. I have a question for you, actually. And I remember when I used to do business with China, I always used to hear about the subsidy for example, for train deliveries from Russia into China. So, what are there still subsidies for shipments into China with the logistics, and how has it changed at all over the past 5, 10 years?
You mean shipment or you mean the Belt and Road train transportation?
Both, we can say.
I think only for the Belt and Road, we have some subsidies from some government-based platform. They will focus on the import-export business, and they found they export a lot of. They need use a lot of trains, but containers. But for import, they can't fill all. They can't find the commodities that fill the food chain. So they gave some subsidies to the logistic company to force them to as much as they could to send more cargoes back to China. That is still exist, but the amount is shrinking every year. And I think maybe one day there's no subsidies, people will do the same thing to import.
Very, very interesting indeed. We have one more question. For some reason, New Zealand appears to be the only country significantly increasing its pine sawn timber exports to China. Does Mr. Miao have any insight into the reasons behind this trend? It's hard to believe they are more cost effective than South America.
Yes, for the New Zealand pines, after the ban of the Russian logs cannot be imported to China, the New Zealand pine is absolutely the number one species that in the log market in China, soft log market in China, and the shipment, the shipment for the bulk from New Zealand to China is very low, and for the South America to China is very high. It's not competitive, and people in China, they are adapt to the New Zealand pines a lot, red pine a lot, because they have used this kind of species for 10, 15 years. But for Brazil pine, for Uruguay pine, they just use once or twice, and the people won't buy this kind of species only if the price is cheaper. How much cheaper? 100 yuan cheaper, maybe $15 cheaper or $20 cheaper, or even more cheaper than the red pine from New Zealand. So that is why the only growing margin of logs is New Zealand pine.
Very interesting. Is this also for logs and lumber from New Zealand or only for logs?
Logs is growing, but lumber is not growing because you said the exchange that a lot of logs imported based on the low prices, so people can make use of logs to make the lumbers.
Yes. Okay. But however, I believe the question means that sawn timber exports from New Zealand to China are increasing. Okay,
Oh,
is this something that you have heard or seen?
yeah. For sawn timber from New Zealand to China, I don't think the merge is increasing. I think it's stable, just stable. If they are seeking more profit, if the New Zealand sawmills are seeking for more profit, they are operating the sawmills. I think that is why they just invest in this area. But for China market, I don't think we can accept so many sawn timbers from New Zealand because we are adapt to the Russian and European spruce and pines for many years.
Okay. One point could also be, if I'm thinking out loud here,
Uh,
is the potential logistics limitations that New Zealand has. New
oh,
Zealand is very far away from everything and everyone, and I don't think there are any people from New Zealand on this call, so I can speak a bit freely. It's a wonderful country with wonderful sawmills, of course, but
containers, no.
yes,
Not so many containers
they
can
have
be.
limitations in to where they can ship because of the price. Technically,
Mhm,
they can ship even to the moon if the price is, but it's a question of price, right?
mhm,
So probably what is happening is that they have a limited price, a good price to China and
mhm,
everywhere else. So you need to think, what are the other key markets for New Zealand? It's
mhm,
GCC region, meaning Saudi Arabia, UAE. Probably the
mhm,
freight is expensive to there. Probably the Germans and the South Central Europeans are already pressurized, so they are flooding the market there. They're keeping the price down. So the New Zealand cannot compete in one of their key markets. So the only place to ship is China, China, Korea, Vietnam,
India, or
in
maybe.
India as well, maybe.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just thinking out loud. Could be completely wrong, of course. We have one more question
Uh-huh.
from a very good friend. How is the hardwood market in China, and what do you think of its future? Is that something you're able to comment on?
Yes, a little bit. I, from the data from the customs is hardwood logs or timbers still going down in this year, but for the for the for the uh, volume is stable right now. Not the big differences from the 2003, 2004, 2000 and 2004 is a little bit average of than the last year, only 8% lower than last year. For the softwood, 12%. There's a differences, but um, normally speaking, it's still under the pressure of the real estate uh, declining because new houses is less. People don't have a great need for the decoration of their homes. So hardwood is also is in a majority of the decoration uses of it. So I think the hardwood importers, they are facing the um, same problem with softwood importers. Yeah.
Okay, very, very interesting. Are there any more questions to Mr. Max Miao about the Chinese timber market, how it's performing today, about the past, about the future? This is a golden opportunity for somebody that is curious about the market or wants to double check something about the market. We live in very volatile times, so this transparency and open communication is more important than ever.
Thank you, Amir. I'm
No
very,
more, yes, no more
yeah,
questions.
okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Max Miao. It was a sincere pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you so much for your time. And to the
Yeah.
audience, thank you so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you all very soon again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Amin. Bye bye.